I'm Tim Ellis, and thank you for joining us for Laneway Live. Tonight's guest is a comedy magician who specializes in sleight of hand and travels all over the world on cruise ships. He is Tasmania's second best magician. Please welcome Bodane Hatten.
Hey, there was a bit of lag there. It just looked like you were talking and nothing came out, and it was very bizarre. But we're all good now. Thanks, NBN.
Excellent. So Bodane, to give people perspective, you are currently in quarantine or lockdown or self-isolation.
Yep.
What are you? What are you in?
What am I? Well, that's a deep philosophical question. I would probably have to be in the weirdest stage of my life right now, which is being grounded by the government because I did some stuff, like I went traveling, when clearly that was a stupid idea. And they said, stay home or you have to pay a massive fine. And I said, that sounds unfair, but okay. And yeah, I'm basically just stuck here. And if I cough, everybody just kind of like ducks and weaves. So
you were on a cruise ship when this all broke out?
I was actually on a cruise ship when it went really bad. So funnily enough, I was on the Solstice originally, and when it first broke out in December, I was on the Constellation, which was in the Middle East. So we kind of got reports there was something in Wuhan, and everyone was like, "It's fine, it's in Wuhan, no one cares." That was very much the attitude of everybody. And then January, I was on the Solstice, and as soon as the Chinese New Year finished, that's when reports really started to roll in. I think it's because people were flying home or people were flying in, and it just kind of spread really quickly. And at the end of January, the ship I was on, which I can't say for legal reasons, but let's just say it's floating around somewhere right now. I think I can say that much information.
Wow,
they
that
said
really narrows it down.
It does, doesn't it? They said, we can't put you on back-to-back cruises because there's more people that are staying on, so we can't have you do the same show, even though I said I've got another show. But that didn't seem to matter. So they said, we're going to send you to Vietnam. And I thought, that's great. So they sent me to the ship in Vietnam, and that was the beginning of February. And that's when the Diamond Princess, the Japan ship got quarantined.
Diamond Princess.
Yeah, it was the Diamond Princess. Yeah, sorry. There's been so many ships. It just kind of. I know that was the big one, but yeah, so that got quarantined, and then from there it just turned into the descent into madness. We had every single port. People were getting off. Like it was like an episode of Survivor in a way. Like just not seeing if we'd get to the end of the cruise, just seeing who'd be there by the time we did, type thing.
No, I read reports. I read reports of one of the ships stopping in the Reunion Islands, and the locals getting out and throwing rocks at the people, saying, "Get back on."
That seems to me the most authentic cruise ship experience you could ever have.
They did actually say, "But we want your money. We want your tourist dollars. Get back on the ship."
Yeah, but maybe that was just like, we'll chuck you rocks if you chuck us money.
Souvenir rocks.
Brilliant. Yeah, chuck us the wads back. So
you weren't getting that.
Sorry, what?
You weren't getting that because a lot of ships were actually being turned away from ports.
No, well, we got turned away. So we got turned away from Vietnam, and then we said, right, we'll sail straight to Taiwan. The safer option.
It is. They're handling it really well, but that's why you would not have gotten into Taiwan.
No, exactly. So we got to Taiwan, and they said, you can get lost. So we did. We decided to sail to Bangkok at that point. So right now we've been sailing for 3 straight days when we weren't meant to be. And then they finally said, and it was really funny. One of the guests was clearly getting quite frustrated. He just, after the 4th day at sea, that wasn't scheduled, he ran up to the front desk and just slammed his hand on the table and said, "When will you admit defeat?" And it made me laugh quite a lot. He was very angry though, but it made me laugh. So kudos to him. It was just mad. I mean, my favorite part was probably we had a coin. I have a coin, which might show you later. It has yes or no printed on it because I'm coming up with a routine with yes and no. But just before we got into Taiwan, we flipped the coin and we asked if we'd be landing in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, and it came up no. And about half an hour later, everybody's phones when we were in the crew bar started ringing, and it was an emergency meeting. And so after that, we didn't use the coin. It's
Leave your coin alone.
I know.
Put it away,
and yeah, it was very, very, very. It wasn't scary for me. I think the scariest part was we disembarked in Singapore and they flew me back via the Philippines because, you know, that was, again, real smart option. And it turns out Manila Airport has absolutely nothing to do. There's like at 12 o'clock at night, there's just people wandering around and looking scared.
How long were you there for?
Oh, good time. It was about 6 hours, I think, the layover for that one. I think I cried flying in.
That's only like 6 episodes.
Yeah, but I had nothing because I wasn't prepared for the amount of time I was stuck just flying around and being sick, apparently. Yeah, it was just a bizarre experience. So anyway, that was my... So I was on ship. Came back home. And after I came back home, I then did a few more cruise ships, and everything was fine. Yeah. Because
and this is in February.
Yeah, this is in February. Yeah, no one really seemed to. I kept asking. I said, "Look, They said, "Are you showing symptoms?" I said, "No," because we all know that, you know, if you show symptoms, everybody shows symptoms with this thing. So I mean, if I was really sick, or like if I had any kind of symptoms whatsoever, I would have. My only consolation really was that no one I'd been in contact with had tested positive. If anyone I had met had tested positive, then I would have definitely. But no one I was meeting or anything was testing positive, and they were having checks regularly. Like there was, I think because I went straight. Oh bugger! I was trying so hard.
I can edit that out. I'll bleep that.
The beep to the beep. I went from the beep to the beep, and we sailed from Bali all the way to Singapore. They just kept sending me back to Asia, so it was very annoying for me. Where were you? Were you on the ships when it broke out?
As you see, I'm wearing my little crew badge and guest entertainer badge in your honor.
And solidarity, brother. It's Timothy as well, so formal.
I don't know why I've never actually worn this in public ever. They gave it to me, and I'm like, I'm not going to walk around the ship going, "Hi."
Yeah, no one ever does that, especially in the dining hall. You never wear a badge in the dining hall.
No,
it's just
etiquette. So no, I did Silver Seas, and that was fine. That was in February, I think. February.
Is that did you do Muse?
Yeah, Silver Muse.
I love the Muse. That's one of my favorite ships.
It was good. Very good. And the cast and the crew and the services, they were fantastic. And there were a lot of Australians on it this time, very few Americans on it. But previous to that, I did Majestic Princess, and they said most of their guests had cancelled because they're mainly Asian guests from China. So the ship was half full, and that was in February. Then I was supposed to do... I've been booked. This is crazy. I've been booked for Oceania in April, Japan to Japan. And I keep saying to my agent, like, surely that's cancelled. He's like, no. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to need to ask. I'm not going to turn up. That's not going to be happening. And they booked me for one on I think it was the Sea or the Sun or something like that, which was supposed to, would have got back today. And I think Nikki, you know Nikki?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's right. Yeah.
Nikki Bennett. She actually was on the leg before me. She was asked to be on the leg before me. Oh no, it wasn't Nikki. It was Amy Dry. It was Amy Dry.
Okay, I don't know.
So yeah, she was on the leg before me, and she got on, and I said, "Oh, I'll be getting on to ship after you." She said, "Oh, we'll meet at port," and of course, it was totally rerouted, and she was like, this is crazy." And my agent called me and said, "No, you're not going on
No.
that," because I get messaging going like, "I'm supposed to be going to the airport in 2 days. Is this going
Yeah.
ahead?" But I mean, kudos to the cruise industry. They're having to deal with so much chaos at the moment. Just was one guy from Australia going, "Am I getting on the ship?" or something like, is not their highest priority.
No, exactly. And I think, especially when it kicked off on the ship in Asia, like that guest services desk, every time there was a cancelled port, the lines were right up the stairs. Like it was one of those foyers where the guest services desk is here, and then the stairs go all the way up like that, and it was just bedlam for about a good 20 meters. These lines were, and like 5 people aside, and that was for like 4 days in a row, because every time they'd cancel a port, people would have to change their flights, and there's only 27 phone lines to call out.
And there's no real clear communication, because even if they say this is going on, people go, "But I want to know."
Yeah, and it was just, and like for me, it was I was kind of prepared for this isolation thing months ago, because
you're an entertainer.
Yeah, that too. I mean, we all know that magicians, when they say they're rehearsing, they're just sitting at home and just kind of doing something else.
Well, they're on the and they're sitting in their cabin going, "That's it." Yeah. Got a show in 2 days. I'll have to start preparing soon.
Yeah, it's exactly. Sort of,
cruise ships does prepare you for this quarantine, really.
It really does. Someone said to me, someone said actually there was a great one, which was this self-isolation or quarantine is just basically 2 weeks at sea. So what's that? The Hawaii to America run? That's maybe a stop off in Hawaii.
It could end up being a world cruise.
It really could. This is the cruise through space on the world.
The world resetting itself. It's like the world basically going, "Look, guys, I've had enough. Just everyone just go away."
It's like a massive Earth facial, just exfoliating, getting rid of all the dead skin. It's
it's a really weird analogy, but I'll let it fly. That's good.
Well, I mean, yeah, but to be fair, I do have very weird sayings.
Speaking of the weird sayings, for those who have never met you before, we will play a little.
Maybe it will if this keeps up.
Mate, never will. Never will meet you in person anyway. But for those people, we're just going to play a little clip of some of your magic.
Dice and a cup. That's all we need. Do you want to just have a quick look at the dice? It's got 6 sides, 6 numbers. Yep. Excellent. You sound exactly like my taxman. Place it in your palm, and in your other hand, just hold the cup up like this. So I'll place it there. Excellent. Now, place the cup over the dice. Shake. Excellent. Now, you satisfied shaking? Yeah, okay. Flip it. Now, just peek inside, have a look at the number.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it will materially 6.
Yes. You can prize number 6.
Okay.
Prize number 6. A hug.
Oh.
Good prize. Come on down, get a hug. Not today, old friend. I did promise I'd teach you a trick. I didn't really teach you a trick, did I? I didn't really teach you a trick. I kind of did all the work. Feel free to speak up. Yeah, confirm what happened. Tell you what, I'll do this. I wasn't going to do this trick, but I think you're a good crowd. I don't care what other people think. You guys are great. So I'm going to teach you how to do a real magic trick. Okay? For this, you need a silk made of polyester. You place it inside your fist just like so. Okay? That's the hard part of the trick. You click your fingers and the silk is gone. You click your fingers and the silk then comes back. It's pretty good. Wrote it myself. Silk goes into the fist just like so. Turns into a can. Do you want to know how to do this trick? Yes. Yes. Like any of you care. It's a fake. Inside is the silk.
Oh.
There, done. I'll go into more detail so you can actually know how to do this. So you have the silk somewhere. Usually I have it in my pocket. I didn't this time because I had other things in my pocket, like, my self-respect. It's true. You need a receptacle where you can put the can, of course. And you have to try and hide it in a natural way when it comes out. That's the hardest part. It has to be in a natural way. And you can hide the naturalness of this arm by just using misdirection. Trust me, no one will think you're mental. You then place the silk inside the can, of course. Yes, we're all with this. We're down with it. Good. And then you produce the can. That's all you have to do. It's pretty simple. Okay? You got it? Yeah. It's easy, right? Very easy. Which is why I always like to do the easier part and actually peel off the sticker. And that's when you get the real.
Well, so you've been doing magic for how long?
Oh, professionally, I think about, it'll be 10 years professionally. 18 was when I first started really doing it, but about 5 years before that, I was really, I always loved magic. When I was a child, I actually, I watched a lot of Jonathan Creek as a child, and that was my kind of exposure to it. Because I lived in Hobart. Well, actually, I didn't even live in Hobart at that time. I lived in Madonna, which is a very rural part of Tasmania, like down near Port Arthur. And there was no books. Like in the library, the only magic book was Magic Possum. And then that didn't really help. So we moved up to Hobart, and I think there was only like one book in the library, which was like one of those terrible how to do magic self-help books. And it had like a guy in the top hat with the tuxedo that's not quite tight, you know, it's too tight, and it's like, and then the internet became a thing, like really became a thing, and I think Illusionist was my first exposure, because they just advertised. They were really good at advertising back in the day. And now, you know, there was a few years there where I was a bit, not an endorsement, but not a critique, just a thing.
You did a solo show a while ago in Tasmania, Deception.
Yes, Deception. That was terrible. That was where I learned that I was not cut out for illusions. That was a real nail in the head moment for me, where I said, right, I can't really do illusions, but what I can do is sleight of hand, and some people laugh at what I say, so maybe we'll go down the comedy route. I'm a massive fan of exploring every option. Find out what you're really good at and what you're really bad at, because you need to know both, really. I mean, you could be really good at something, but you never know because you don't try it, or you don't think it's for you. Or so I did everything a few years ago. I did escapology, mentalism, comedy magic. I did really serious sleight of hand with Minds of Dream and all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of, it just so happened that I just enjoyed making people laugh. That was my one thing that I really enjoyed. Yeah, other than that, I think that's kind of, it's all I've really known. I kind of just fell into it because my acting career didn't pan out. And I'm not pretty enough to go on The Bachelor. So you work with what you've got. That's my point.
You've been very successful with the cruise ships. You seem to be quite in demand on the cruise ship scene, which is great. And everyone I know who's seen your show has raved about it. The only thing, of course, now is that now that scene has literally disappeared in a moment. And if it comes back, it's going to be 6 to 12 months at least. So
exactly.
what are you going to do? I mean, we'll give you two short-term answers. One, what are you going to do to pass the time in quarantine? And two, what are you going to do after you get released?
Yes. Well, right now I'm just making up videos of really wacky stuff, just stuff that comes into my head, whatever I decide to do. I've been drinking a lot, probably more than I should, but at the same time, it's a good way to pass the time if you're just kind of sleeping it off.
We might put a link down there to the web videos for people who want to check
some of the weird stuff I've been doing. But short term, I luckily ordered about 5 routines that I really wanted to do. I've had my eye on for a while, and I ordered them on the day before the dollar dropped to 55 cents. So I was very lucky. I made the decision. I thought, okay, I've got some savings. I don't know how long this thing's going to last. I'd rather have a brand new show that's ready to go. Because that's the thing is, like, cruise ship performers, like, it's very difficult sometimes to put stuff in halfway through a season, because you don't want to put something that's half finished in front of an audience. And I know that, like, for example, with a lot of the magicians, they don't need audience members for their tricks. But I use an audience member for virtually every single trick. And I love using an audience member, and I don't like putting a half-conceived idea with an audience member on stage, because twice as many people, twice as many things can go wrong.
And now with distancing coming in for almost permanently, that could be very challenging. We could have to reassess everything we do.
Absolutely, and that's kind of that's a real issue for me, because every single trick I use people. So I am thinking about making a massive joke out of it, and just kind of like carrying a hand sanitizer and just like spraying all their hands and giving them gloves and face masks and just making jokes out of it.
I did that on the Majestic before the virus came on.
Yeah.
They just happened to have a hand sanitizer machine side stage, and I brought someone up, and then just randomly ran off, grabbed it, and had them wash their hands. I washed my hands, and everyone thought it was very funny. And that was before the virus. Maybe
Very, very.
that's not so good.
We can no longer call them the Chinese linking rings as well. It's
The
anything to do
COVID
with
linking rings.
covert linking rings, the isolation linking rings.
Now, I've got to ask, with the stuff you ordered,
Yes.
I've got my fingers crossed for you. Did you order mouth coils and throw streamers? Because we have a severe shortage of toilet paper, and that could come in.
Really? Oh, of course, yeah. And I like that Tom Mullica line, actually, where he eats the napkins and he goes, do you know why I eat that? It's because I don't need to buy toilet paper. But see, this is how I approach the situation. I didn't get mouth coils or anything. I didn't get toilet paper. I didn't stockpile toilet paper because I just stocked up on constipation tablets just to bind me up, you know. So for the next 2 weeks, it's fine. I'm good. I don't even need toilet paper.
Save so much money. Save so much
Exactly.
money.
The fools, they went the other way. They just assumed that they were going to be on the toilet the entire 2 weeks. Me, not a problem.
Well, it's been good chatting with you, and good luck with your isolation. Is there anything you want to leave us with?
Yes, I would like to leave you with a saying which I say at the end of all my shows, which is this: always stay positive, and if you can, test negative. That's my.
Thank you for chatting with us, Bodane Hatten, and I hope you survive your quarantine. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.